Welcome to KidsTown Live. My name's Becky, and I am the Children's Ministry Director at Covenant Community Church in Vacaville, California.
And I'm Sous Chef Joey.
Hey, you remember last week we started to look at the book of Leviticus?
Yep, Leviticus picks up where Exodus leaves off.
Yeah, correct. The book of Leviticus is an instruction manual for the Israelites on how to be set apart for God, how to be holy. So, do you remember what holy means?
I remember. Holy means to be set apart for God.
Excellent. And remember, God asked the Israelites to set aside one day each week. That day was called the Holy Sabbath. It was a special day set apart just for God. And then he asked them to set aside some olive oil to be used only in a special tent. Remember, it was holy oil.
Yes, the holy oil. That's some powerful stuff. It can heal people and fight dragons.
Dragons? Really? You don't remember that we talked about this last week?
I saw it on TV. Again. It's a very powerful program.
Okay, so just like I told you last week, I'll tell you again. There is no power in the oil. The power is in God. The oil was the same that they used to bake with or fix a squeaky door. But by setting it aside for God, they were saying it couldn't be used for any of those regular things, only for God's purposes. And so it was holy, set apart for God.
Oh, now I remember. But what about the Levites? What was so special about them again?
Nothing. Remember, they were just like the other tribes of Israel, but just like the oil that was set apart for God and the one day a week that was set apart for God, God had the Levites set apart from the other tribes for his purposes. They were in charge of God's special tent, the tabernacle. They were to spend all of their time taking care of God's tent and helping Israel worship God and follow all of his instructions.
I've heard there are some pretty wacky rules. I actually started reading some of the rules in Leviticus, and I got a little confused.
How so?
Well, some of them make perfect sense. It says the Israels shouldn't lie or steal or hurt each other. It says they should respect their parents and love their neighbors like they love themselves.
Yeah, those are rules that are also in other parts of the Bible, right?
Yeah, I know, but then it sort of goes off the deep end. It says they can't trim their beards or sew together two different types of fabric or plant a field with two different crops.
Let me see that. It says that they can eat bugs that swarm in the air, but not bugs that swarm on the ground. So you could eat locusts and grasshoppers.
Because they fly.
But not ants.
Because they don't.
And no eating pigs either.
What? No bacon? That's downright peculiar.
So what's with all these wacky rules? Why don't we follow them today? We still shouldn't lie or cheat or steal or hurt each other.
But we can eat bacon or ants. I'm not saying I want to eat ants. But if I did, no one would say it was a sin.
Okay, maybe it's time to answer the big question. What's the big question?
What's with all of the wacky rules and why don't we follow them today?
Okay, so here's the thing. What's confusing us is that God gave Israel more than one kind of rule because he was asking them for more than one kind of holiness. Some were ritual holiness and other rules were for ethical holiness.
That does not help at all.
I wasn't done. So you know what a ritual is, right? It's something that we do over and over. It has deep meaning, which reminds us of something important. For example, let's think football. Some football teams, before they run out for the game, will all touch a rock.
Is it a magic football rock?
No, it's just an ordinary rock, but the habit of hitting it before each game reminds them of their commitment to playing hard and to doing their very best. Hitting the rock is a ritual that reminds them of something important.
Oh, I get it. It sounds crazy to us, but it means something to them, just like all the crazy rules in Leviticus.
Right, so all the rules about their clothes and food and hair remind the Israelites 20 times a day that they were set apart for God. It would remind them to do their very best.
And they would get the most touchdowns. Just kidding.
Oh.
So we know what ritual means. What does ethical mean?
So ethical is how we behave. It's how we treat each other. So let's go back to the football team. They all hit a rock on their way out to the game. That's a ritual. But then they have rules to follow, like no fighting in the locker room, no telling lies about other players, come to practice on time. Those are all ethical rules to keep the team together so they can accomplish their goals.
Oh, rules like no stealing, no murder. Those are ethical rules.
And they are all still true in the New Testament.
And the rules about hair and clothes and stuff were ritual rules for the Old Testament.
Yes, so those were for the physical kingdom, like Israel, the kingdom of Israel, under the old promise, the old covenant, the Old Testament. Today, God's kingdom is everywhere. It's not a physical kingdom like Israel. Today, we live under the new promise, the new covenant, the New Testament.
So the ritual rules were just for the kingdom of Israel, but the ethical rules were for all of us.
Well, there you go. So, I have a challenge that we're going to do. And I'm going to let you challenge somebody to this competition. But here's the thing. You have to follow rules. So just like the Israelites followed the rules. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to give you and your competitor each a pile of marshmallows, some straws, and a pair of scissors. You'll have exactly the same amount of everything. Your challenge will be to make the tallest freestanding marshmallow tower in 10 minutes. You'll have exactly 10 minutes. Now, the rules are you can cut the straws and you can't help hold your tower up when time's up. Hands have to come off. And we'll see who builds the tallest tower.
Ooh. We're going to close in prayer. Dear God, thank you for your rules. Thank you for having patience with us as we learn from our mistakes. Help us find our strength in you. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll see you next week as we move into the next book of the Bible.
All right, bye.
Bye.